Ahava, blessings, and welcome to the second lighting of the Advent candle. And so as we gathered last Sunday to light the candle that symbolized the prophetic consciousness, this week we are also gathering on this Sunday to light the candle that is Shalom consciousness, unity consciousness. And I will be speaking about this. But first, let's just go back to this beautiful last week. For me, it was really, really powerful because in this first week of Advent, I led a retreat in Malaga, Spain. It was just so beautiful, the Magdalene Tree of Life retreat. And we actually lit the first candle together. And so let's bring back into our awareness the embodiment and the work that we did with the first candle, with the first flame. And so fire is important. The flame of a candle is very important because it symbolizes the radiance of the soul. Whereas the wick represents the body. When we light the candle, we are actually offering our devotion to the radiance of our soul that chooses to come into this incarnation. And so when we lit the first candle, we talked about prophetic consciousness, right? It was about faith, the heimenut, that I have faith in the divine, so the divine has faith in me. And in that faith that I receive, my book of life is revealed and I am given the strength, right? Because we all have willpower, right? That's part of our commitment, our ahava. But to be also infused with that strength to move forward and walk, take the footsteps of the journey that we are meant to be on, that's willpower. And it's also a little push from the divine, a little push from the Shekhinah, the divine feminine presence. And so this first candle, that was the faith, and it was about the word and prophecy, John the Baptist, the purification, right? So that we could really go into prophecy, so aligned with this month of Kislev, Sagittarius, which is all about prophetic dreams and taking time to be in that state of prophecy, to be in that state of divine communication, right? And so we were very mindful with our words, we were very mindful with our thoughts, wanting to bring love, creation, and consciousness to the power of our word, the power of our sound. At the same time, we focused on our faith. And if you didn't do the first candle and you're doing the second one, that's okay. Maybe you can take a few minutes on the stages to, when you light the first candle, to work on what we worked on in the first week. And so this second candle brings us into a very, very sacred space because it is the candle that represents peace, Yeshua, the Prince of Peace. But if we go even deeper, the second candle represents Bethlehem, Beit, Lechem. And it's very, very important when we are honoring these sacred rituals within the Christ lineage, whether it be Gnostic Christianity or Hebrew mysticism or Hebrew Christianity. When we dive deep into these rituals, there's a very, very powerful meaning and activation, a very powerful symbolism. And also we need to understand that it's important to connect with the purity of the word. So today we're not going to connect with Bethlehem, we're going to connect with Beit Lechem, which is the Hebrew and the Aramaic word for Bethlehem. And so Beit Lechem means house of bread. Beautiful, right? So let's look at the first part of the word Beit. Beit is the second letter of the Aramaic Hebrew alphabet, and it's also the first letter of the creation story, the first word being Bereshit, in the Genesis creation, creating infinitely. So Beit is number 2, right? It represents number 2. So we're already having the experience of number 2, that is duality going into unity. And also Beit represents a home. It also can be translated as womb, not a house, a home, a place where we are sheltered, right? And then we've got the second part of the word, which is Lechem, and Lechem means bread. It means the bread that we eat. It means nourishment, definitely, but there's also a very spiritual meaning to this, which is bringing in, unifying the different parts of ourselves, the light and the shadow, all of the different parts of ourselves, bringing them into oneness. And also even in our community, in our homes, in our countries, in our planet, just bringing in the different parts that seem to be in polarity so that they can come into unity, into a divine communion. And so when we think of Bethlehem, right, Mother Mary, Joseph, looking for that shelter, right, so Mother Mary could birth the Christ, who could bring Yeshua into this world, it represents this safe place. They looked for a beautiful, safe place in Bethlehem where they were covered, where they were embraced, where they were protected, where they were nurtured, right? And where they could actually concentrate on the divine birth of the Christ light and the Christ through Yeshua that was happening in that moment. And so even though if we look deep into this tradition, this time of the year would have been the celebration of light conception, of the conception of Mother Mary, not so much the birthday of Yeshua. We're actually celebrating that light conception. And if we go beyond the story, in that light conception, we need to honor this light and receive this light in a very safe and protected and nourished space. So Beit Lechem could be seen as that womb space that nurtures and protects and holds the light, right? Just imagine the manger, the scene, Joseph, Mother Mary, and Yeshua being birthed, that huge light within that sacred space that was kind of like a cave energy, right? And so Beit Lechem represents that coming into a space where we feel safe, where we feel protected, where we can be vulnerable, and where we can be honest with ourselves. And that vulnerability is really important, because that vulnerability is what is going to allow us to actually see things as they are. Because when the ego looks at the light and the shadow within us, the ego judges, the ego gets angry, or the ego just says, oh, there's nothing wrong, keep doing what you're doing. But when we are in a state of vulnerability, we can allow ourselves to actually bring those different parts of ourselves together, like the lechem, the bread in Aramaic and Hebrew, and we can see those parts that are chaotic, those parts that are filled with judgment, with fear, and actually embrace them and find truth in them and find wisdom in them so that they can unify with the light. The light will always alchemize the parts of ourselves that we may not feel are completely expanding in truth. Well, it always is truth at the end of the day because it's wisdom, but I think you know what I mean. The light will always have victory over those shadow aspects, but we need to recognize them so that we can bring them to the light, right? And so that vulnerability is important. And even Mother Mary found her vulnerability to give birth in that sacred space, right? In that space that was protected. And so when we light the second Advent candle, we're calling in that Beit Lechem. We're calling in a space within ourselves, a womb-like space where we can actually empty ourselves and open up to receive this light conception, this light of unity. And as Lechem represents the unifying aspect of the different parts of ourselves, or we can actually look at this on a more collective level, the unifying aspects of the collective and the tribes and the earth and humanity and the cultures and the languages. Of course, it is the candle of peace. It is the candle of Shalom, right? Shalom in Biblical Hebrew, Shlama, or Shlomo in Aramaic. We're using the Shalom today. And so that is the second candle, the purple candle. Shalom represents or means actually to be complete, to be whole. And that completeness and that wholeness brings peace. So peace is not the absence of war or the absence of anger. Peace is actually wholeness. It is the presence of wholeness. Right? When we think of peace, we think, okay, we live in a peaceful world, there's no war. It has nothing to do with that. The war is the consequence, right? The chaos is the consequence. So peace has nothing to do with that. Peace has to do with the presence of completeness and of wholeness. And so this is why the Shalom is so connected to the Beit Lechem. And it's interesting because in the first candle, we connected with that prophetic consciousness where we were very cautious with the word, with our sound, and having faith that we are in where we need to be in this moment, and having faith in our creation, in our conversation with the divine. We can call the divine presence Allah, God, Goddess, Arun, whatever resonates with each of us, but to have that faith in that presence and actually begin a dialogue with that presence. And it was very interesting because while I was away leading the retreat, again, a very beautiful, powerful retreat. I know that some of you that are watching this were present, so thank you for your presence. It was actually very beautiful that before I went to do our early morning practice, our early morning sadhana at the temple space, I always have a conversation with Allah in the morning, but it was really profound because it was the silence of nature, raw nature, right? The palm trees, the olive trees, the cactus, and to go outside under the stars and actually have that conversation. And I felt this strong faith of having a conversation as if Allah were just that friend listening to me, right? And so we went through that faith, we embodied that faith, we opened up to it, and then as a result of that faith, we have been mindful of our words and our actions and our thoughts. So now that we have gone through this first week of light, remember, the body is the wick and the light, the flame, is the expansion of the soul. Now there's more light expanding when we light the second candle because there's going to be more light. And so here we say, yes, I am going to go into my Beit Lechem, into my womb space, into that vulnerability, into that place of protection and nourishment. I know I'm nourished. I know I'm held. I know I'm protected. I am safe to receive this light. I am safe to receive the Christ light, or to awaken even more of the light that I'm holding. And I am safe to dive into the experience of completeness and of wholeness. I am safe to be complete and whole, right? Because a lot of times the fears come up of our experiences in life, our past lives, where we may not feel complete and whole, or just feeling complete and whole is to be raw and open. There are no boundaries. There are no limits. We are just complete and we are open, right? And we are whole, which also brings another level of faith, knowing that whatever happens in our experiences, in our relationships, we still commit to this sense of completeness and wholeness, which we find within, which we find in our Beit Lechem, in our house of bread, in our house of unity. This is unity consciousness. In our house of unity, we know that we are complete. We know that that shadow is healed by the light. We know that that missing, exiled aspect of ourselves has come home again, right? And within the Beit Lechem, we are absolutely infinite. We are infinite, right? This is where we can find our infinity, and this is where we can find our completeness and our wholeness. So we are going to light the second candle, and before we light the second candle, because then we will go into a beautiful mantra, let's just summarize what our intention is for this week as we light the second candle. And so we take in everything that we have learned from the first week, and now there is more light revealed. And so as we want to reveal more light in our lives, we need to go into the Beit Lechem, into our own house of bread, right? And so we're going to find time this week to feel nurtured, to feel safe, and to feel held. And going within, and we're going to actually unify those aspects within us that are in a constant polarity, duality, and a constant struggle, right? We want to unify them. And then instead of looking for an expectation of only finding harmony and no anger, right? No chaos in the external, because that's what we usually do when we focus on peace. We're going to focus on being complete. And so how do I feel complete every day? We wake up every morning and feel gratitude for everything that we have, right? We know that even though there is a struggle within us, that struggle is wanting to unify. And so that is our intention, to find the shalom and to be in that peace. And so we are going to light the second candle. And to chant Ahava 3 times. To bathe ourselves 3 times with this light. And I want you to put your hands on your heart, and I want you to listen to this invocation for the second candle. I am divine union. I carry the sacred Magdala Christos codes of mystical marriage within the holy chamber of my heart. In every breath, I awaken the eternal love that binds the heavens and the earth, the masculine and feminine, the seen and the unseen. I step into the Holy of Holies, the bridal chamber of sacred union, where the veil of separation dissolves and I am one with the beloved. The bridal chamber is not of this world. It is the hidden sanctuary of light where two become one and the divine mystery is revealed. Through this sacred union, I transcend illusion and embrace the wholeness of my being. The masculine within me stands in devotion, a pillar of strength, purpose, and protection. The feminine within me flows as a divine womb of creation, a fountain of wisdom, grace, and love. Together they dance in harmony, weaving the holy communion. I call forth the light of the Sophianic mysteries, the wisdom of the Shekhinah, and the living presence of the Magdalene and Yeshua, to anchor within me the vibration of divine love. I am the temple, the altar, and the flame. In the bridal chamber of my soul, I remember, what is hidden shall be revealed, what is divided shall be united, and what is mortal shall become eternal. I open my heart to the infinite flow of divine grace. I anchor the sacred marriage within me, a union that transcends time, space, and form, bringing the realms of heaven to earth. I embody the living Christos light where love reigns as the only truth. I am divine union. I am the beloved, and the beloved is within me. And just bring the hands to your heart. And so now we're going to chant Noohra, the Beit Lechem, Shalom. The light of the house of bread, the light of my temple, the temple that nurtures me, Shalom. You will find the words in Aramaic below, and you will also find the invocation, the affirmation, invocation, and prayer that I just read for you to recite every day during the second week of Advent. hold the breath. Exhale. And just putting the palms of the hands up. I'm just going to recite the Lord's Prayer. Avunda Bishmaya, Nektadash Shishmaya, Titemal Utane Wesaviana, Aikana the Bashmaya, Akbachara, Abran Lachma, the Sunkana, Niamana, Bishbukalanachawai, Aikana, Afechnan, Eshfachna, Lechavian, Ulatalan, Lemesiuna, Elatashan, Membish. And we're going to recite once the Hail Mary. Shalom Lech Mariam, Maliat Tebut Moran Amech, Okadishtu Mariam, Wambarachu Verotav Charsech. Amen. And just put the hands on the heart, two hands uniting in Shalom, in peace. And so we have lit the second candle. We have the prophetic consciousness and the unity consciousness, the Shalom consciousness. And I thank you for being present. I think it's very, very important, the work that we're doing as we light the Advent candles together in community. And all of you who are new to the community, may be watching this video for the first time, I welcome you to the Desert Rose Mystery School, where we work with creation spirituality, the Magdala Christos teachings, activations, and wisdom through Hebrew mysticism and Gnostic Christian mysticism, and mysticism from all over the world, because our intention is to unify always. And so if you have any reflections or any questions, please leave them below. And I'm sending all of you so much love. Ahava.